Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. 1 week left in session, and we are joined by someone who everything in that 1 week will run through, the House Minority Leader, Aune from the Northland. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Northland's a beautiful place.
It is. It's a great place to live.
Springtime. It's spring and the fall there that you get every season in the Northland.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty up there.
Oh, yeah. That's the best thing about being from the Midwest. It's just you see it all.
That's something that's not that pretty. The state budget. Overall, I do think this is what people vote for. I mean, when you vote to cut taxes and you vote for people to cut taxes, you have shortfalls.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the things that Ranking Member Betsy Faughn on our Budget Committee has said,
job.
She is incredible. She did such a wonderful job. One of the things that she keeps bringing up is the fact that, we have to take a look at our tax policy and our budget more holistically. We can't keep cutting taxes and then act shocked when we have to come in the next year and plan the next fiscal year and we're facing shortfalls and we have to cut vital services to things that Missourians really count on.
I think maybe the thing I see is, are they vital services? They're vital services to the people that need them. To your average person, I'm not sure they view them as vital, or they wouldn't vote Republican.
I think that is an interesting question. I think that there is a lot of misunderstanding about the services that folks use and the things that government pays for, right? So government's constantly, the state, we invest in nonprofits, for instance, that touch the lives of senior citizens who are receiving Meals on Wheels, right? Things like that. That people may not understand that a lot of those dollars come from either the federal or the state government or even local municipalities, but they go to supplement the resources for organizations like that. And so when you think about our budget and all of the things that we invest in, and you look at it from that perspective, Betsy Faughn will invite folks all the time, come sit in our budget room, help me find the waste, fraud, and abuse that everyone is saying exists. It's a tough thing to make those
I don't hide. I'm from the boot heel, always been a Republican. Some days I'm more proud of it than others, but the days I'm always least proud of it is when Republicans who don't want to make big choices suck waste, fraud, and abuse. Is there waste, fraud, and abuse in government? Of course there is. Is there probably a little bit more than business? Probably. You have a profit margin there. But the fact is you're not going to find $150 million in waste, fraud, and abuse.
That's exactly
You're
right.
going to cut things that the government is doing for people.
Right.
Now, if that's your position, great. And frankly, how do you square this, though? So you lead your caucus into the elections in Missouri. Now, have we become we're no longer a bellwether. We're very much at the national mood. But the people vote for this. I mean, I don't know how people in St. Louis, they have some questionable governmental decisions, but that's what they vote for. I don't know why they don't get it. And the state of Missouri now, because the ARPA money has postponed this day of reckoning, but now it's here, but it's also, how do you square the part? That's what folks voted for.
I think that is tough, and that's something that I think constantly about in Missouri, especially as a member of the super minority who I've watched year after year Missourians vote for progressive things at the ballot and then continue to elect a supermajority of Republicans.
Does it make it harder for you to win seats?
It does. It does. Because, I think that the struggle is connecting the issues to the politicians who are pushing those issues, right? And I think that's a messaging gap. And that's something that I've been working really hard on addressing and making sure that our candidates understand how to speak to that.
Is it even possible to connect all that?
I think it is. I think voters are smart and they understand. And I think they're really seeing lately all of the ways in which their legislature is overturning their will time after time after time. They're frustrated about the maps. They're frustrated about abortion. They're frustrated about workers' rights. And they're finally starting to tell us about it. And we're hearing from a lot of people that the frustration is high.
What happened with the education funding? There was a problem. I don't know if it was a problem. I think maybe the House did what they wanted to cut the foundation for. The $250 million or whatever it was.
$190 million.
They come back and the Senate, they signed a conference report, and the senators say they were misled. What happened?
I can't tell you what happened. I wasn't in those rooms or those conversations. But what it looks like from the outside is that the House Budget Chair misled not only the Senate Appropriations Chair, but the Ranking Member, Betsy Faughn, and staff as well. There were folks who asked the question repeatedly, is this a funding source that we can count on? They were told yes.
Well, best case scenario was a screw up, right?
Best case scenario was a screw up, but I can't imagine, based on the way the budget chair has handled last year's budget by just killing HB 19 out of nowhere now this year.
It's hard for me to blame the guy for picking on the weaklings. He picked on the Senate last year, and they took it. So they're probably going to take it again, right? I haven't seen the Senate stick up for itself in years. They just lie there like dogs. They just take it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that I would agree with that necessarily in the budget process. We've seen a lot of the Senate getting its way over the last several years in the budget
Not in the
process,
last 2
and a
years.
lot of frustration
Let's
from
be
the
honest.
House.
Dirk Deaton has put the House in the best position of anybody I've seen in a long time, probably dating back to Scott Fitzpatrick. I mean, Dirk Deaton, he has just owned that Senate, and they have taken it. They don't even stick up for themselves. I mean, it's hard to stick up for them when they don't even stick up for themselves. They just take it.
Well, listen, you're not going to hear me defending the Senate too much.
I don't know how you could.
But what I will say is
If you need to defend the Senate, just ask Dirk what he's going to tell them to do next. 'Cause that's just what happens.
I think that when we talk about the budget process, the thing that is really frustrating to me is that lack of cooperation between the two chambers and, frankly, the lack of transparency across the board. I think that our budget is crafted really well and by a lot of people who care deeply about the investments that we're making in our state. And when we have more people at the table and more people actually making those decisions, I think that that is a better solution for our entire state. Unfortunately, when things happen in dark rooms, behind closed doors with very few people involved, this is what happens.
Budget's done. Week left in session. What do you expect?
I think that we're going to get some more stuff across the finish line. I think it's an election year, so we are going to have to talk about abortion again. Unfortunately, the Senate just sent us another abortion ban bill.
Isn't all this just performative, though?
It is absolutely performative.
None of this is like real stuff that's ever going to happen.
No.
It is clearly, I mean, if you even take the recent court ruling out where they're trying to tighten up the statutes you pass, this is never going to hold up.
No, I don't think so. And I think that,
And I think I think the vast majority of Republican senators that voted for this know that.
I think so too. And I think that it is telling that Senator Coleman stood up and said, I can't vote for this, right? There were
That might have been a little performative too, but
It
yes.
may have been, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that there are reasons that we have to look really hard about these policies. And it is an election year, and we are performing for our base.
I think some of that stuff is just, I mean, good for you, pass this, but the people that are, the most of the people that are promoting this and voting for this, they know this won't happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think session could have a quiet end. I mean, you could just have a time where you're actually working out bills that are non-controversial things, whether your opinion is good or bad for the state. Looks like the Senate has killed the VLT legislation.
Yeah.
Would have been a big revenue source.
It would have been a big revenue source, absolutely. But, there simply was not an appetite in the Senate, it seems. I think that there was a little waffling, but it definitely
I think the pro tem did not have an appetite.
That's exactly right.
They're going to meet a lot of the Senate bills over in the House, have a tough time this week?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I haven't seen anything that is like, there wasn't anything like too crazy that came up. We loaded up an omnibus bill this week, and
That's
next
what
week,
you do, right? I mean,
right, and it's going to
that's a little performative in and of itself,
Exactly,
correct?
right.
But it is nice. Everybody gets a gold star. They get to say, I got my bill through the House, and then this Congress committee kicks it all off.
Well, when it gets bad enough, too, you run the risk of not having enough votes or needing to get more amendments on so you get more votes. So that one barely made it.
That's a little bit of make work, right? But
Yeah.
you see at the end of the session every year, everybody gets to put their little bill on, and they can go back home and say they
everyone-
passed their bill.
Yeah, pat themselves on the back.
This summer, going to be a fight over the income tax.
Oh, yeah. That's ramping up.
Here's the thing. This is what Republicans have said they want to do forever. You cannot say, I was in your district with Mike Kehoe on that bus. He said, I'm going to I'm going to take over the St. Louis Police Department. I'm going to do a school choice bill, and I'm going to cut the income tax and phase it out. That's what he said.
Yep.
He won the election, and now he's doing it. Or he's trying.
He's trying.
What happens here?
I don't think that Missourians vote for this. I think that this fails at the ballot.
Uphill fight.
Yeah, but man, this is unpopular everywhere I go. I haven't talked to a single person. I haven't heard from a single person who wants this. I've talked all session long about how bad this is for Missouri and what it will actually do, the effect it will have. And it's not just me. It's the conservative grassroots as well.
What I respect,
Armor Vine agrees.
What I respect about Mike Kehoe and what I have with Brad Christon, I've had different people on, they own the fact that, yes, we're going to phase out the income tax and we're going to replace it with a sales tax and probably a collection of other things. We're going to broaden the tax base. Some of that stuff does make a little sense to me. I think people relate more to the sales tax they pay because it's on your receipt. I think what they're really ticked off about is property taxes.
That's exactly right.
That's kind of what I'm hearing is more. But here, I think this state has been stagnant. I graduated college in 2002. This state, and Republican control the whole time. So if you're going to point your fingers, you got to point them right at the people in charge. The state hasn't grown. It hasn't grown in GDP, population. I think you make a good case Mizzou's better off than it was 25 years ago, but I'm not sure it's a long list after that. I love that Mike Kehoe is stepping up a real problem, the stagnant part of this state, and he's offering a solution.
I think that he has identified a problem, and I couldn't agree more that the state has been stagnant, especially in growth. But we have been cutting the income tax, and we have not seen commensurate growth. Like, so.
I was on that House floor watching this when John Deal passed the first one. I have not, none of the promises or prognostications in the positive have come true.
Right.
Now you're seeing the negatives. Really, it took 10 years, but you are seeing the negatives now, but none of the positives happen.
Right,
None of them.
right. And I think that, when you look at the problem, I think it is that folks are leaving Missouri. Folks
What's
are not
your
moving to
plan? If you don't like
Missouri.
Mike Keogh's plan, I respect that.
Yeah.
What's your plan?
I think that having an income tax that addresses the wealth inequality in our state. I think that we need to be taxing people in the top tax bracket. We need to create a top tax bracket, first of all, and tax people an amount that makes sense for their income. And I think that where we really struggle is that we have such an old, antiquated tax system, the tiers. And I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that we are taxing people as low as we are. And when we have folks who are making millions of dollars, right? And we're taxing them so much lower than the rest of Missouri.
Is that going to be the message you went on in November?
It's not. And that's not what we're running on. We're running on, we are a super minority, and it is our job to hold Republicans' feet to the fire. It is our job to hold them accountable, and they have this terrible plan. And the answer is no. The answer from Missourians should be absolutely no. Because you know who's going to hurt worse? Seniors. Seniors don't pay income tax.
Gas still $4 a gallon. You're going to pick up seats, right?
Absolutely. People cannot afford to live in this state. They cannot afford to live in most states right now. And I think
This
Democrats
is
are
the
going
one
to clean
thing
up.
Trump's done that I don't get any of it. The stuff he does, even the eccentric stuff, I kind of get.
Yeah.
The Iran thing, shooting gas up, I don't care about Iran at all. It makes me no difference. I don't pray for their death like they do me, but I don't care at all. Do whatever.
Right.
I don't want to pay one more penny a gallon for Iran and everyone in it.
He ran on America first. He ran on no more foreign wars. And here we are. People are disappointed.
As the campaign unfolds, I hope you come back here on This Week in Missouri Politics and talk to us about it.
I'd love to.
We'll be right back. Opinion Maker panel time after this.
St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
In Missouri, childcare is one of the biggest challenges facing working families and employers. Childcare Works is a smart solution, bringing together families, employers, and community partners to make quality childcare more affordable and accessible. That means parents can keep working, businesses can keep employees, and providers can keep serving children. Learn how Missouri can work better for everyone at childcareworksmo.org.
We have a severe weather alert to report here. The storm is also bringing the threat of damaging winds and large hail.
Here's the thing. When storms bear down, we step up.
Ready to get?
You bet.
Our teams are always ready to keep your power strong. Ameren.com/poweron.
Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe proposing a plan to get rid of the state income tax.
He made a promise.
Eliminating income taxes was actually one of the pillars of Kehoe's campaign for governor.
Now, he's going to deliver.
Governor Mike Kehoe tells me he's ready to move on a plan that would eliminate Missouri's income tax.
Missourians work very hard. They can spend their money better than any elected official can.
Call Governor Kehoe and thank him for keeping his promise.
Missouri didn't build itself. For over 100 years, union laborers have built our beautiful state with skilled hands and hard work. As a union laborer, you don't just work, You earn money while you learn the trade. You could be making up to $40 an hour with top-tier benefits that will help secure the future you want. What are you waiting for? Build your career, build your future, build your legacy as a union laborer. Visit buildunion.com today.
Thank you, Representative Ron Fowler, for voting to create thousands of new Missouri construction jobs, millions in new classroom construction, and millions more for veterans. By truly listening to voters and requiring that all Missouri gaming machines must be regulated and taxed.
You're not listening, okay? Look, Nikki, sorry. Look, I am 12 minutes away from the office. I am walking here as fast as I can. What do you want me to... My bad.
Whoa, my car just saved a guy. That was crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely not going on another date with him.
He wore flip-flops on a first date.
That pet store with the cute puppies in the window? Know what they're really selling? Puppy mill cruelty. Horrible conditions, neglect, and those puppy mill puppies often develop serious health issues. Some even die in the store or shortly after purchase. You deserve to know the truth behind that cute pet shop puppy. Don't be fooled. They're selling cruelty and the lies to cover it up. Get the facts. Visit humaneworld.org/puppymills to learn more.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri Politics, end of session, opinion maker panel time. Ray Reed from St. Louis, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
Marlene Day, one of my favorite people, welcome back.
Thank you.
David Casteel from Jeffco, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
And Representative Ed Lewis from the, we'll call it the greater Northeast, right?
That's right.
We'll one-up Hageman. You got the budget done, and wasn't that contentious? Looks like y'all might try to pull a little bit faster on the Senate again, but it all's well that ends well, right?
I think we came to consensus with the census.
Yeah.
If you hit with the Senate, that was about as congenial a budget time as you can get.
No, the last thing with that education money, I saw some shades of last year a little bit there, but it looks like that was done. And look, Representative, I mean, when you campaign, it shocks me the media will be like, oh my God, what are these Republicans doing? Every Republican card I've ever seen, we're going to cut taxes, we're going to be pro-life and pro-gun. You come down here and you do that. And part of the end part of cutting taxes is you got to cut government.
That's right. The budget is smaller. I mean, how many times can you say that the budget is smaller this year than it was last year? And yet we still funded at a record level our education with both private school and public school.
Representative, it is there are cuts. The government is shrinking. A lot of that's the ARPA money's getting spent. It was always kind of a shell game. People said the budget was huge. Well, that ARPA money is now going out the door. It doesn't go out the door all in 1 year. I mean, there's not enough contractors to build 70 at one time. But folks do vote for this. The cuts may hurt, but that's people vote for in a super majority of Republicans all saying they're going to cut taxes. Well, you're going to cut government, obviously.
Right. And what we're seeing is that the wealthiest among us are getting their taxes cut at a higher proportion than the lower income folks. And wealthier seeing great benefits. It's essentially tax cuts for the rich and budget cuts for everyone else. What we're seeing in this budget.
Well, if you're a guy swinging a hammer tomorrow morning, you get your income tax cut too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Under this plan. But you also, there's less services. Going to be the schools. You don't do more with less. You do less with less. You're going to have to cut government. This is just what happens.
Unless the opportunity presents itself, whereas we might have more investment into the state, creating more opportunity and higher paying jobs. So there might be a lag.
How you're a businessman. That's one thing I love talking business. Most people love talking politics here. I love talking business with you. If that works, there's a lag. What do you think that is lag? 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I'd say 4 to 5 years. You've got to build out the infrastructure, get the facilities built, attract talent, and get through the regulation process.
But that is the hope, right? That you're cutting government, and yes, folks that rely on those services, they're going to suffer, just the way it is. But you're hopeful that over time you could bring more people to this state, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the hope.
That's the hope.
And there's a lot of smart people working on that.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I was looking forward to as far as change and cuts, because, you know, they kept using Atlanta and Texas as an example. I just think that Missouri has to grow, and so we have to start somewhere. And I'm willing to take that chance so that there are improvements in Missouri, that people want to come to Missouri, and for all different types of things, just to live or for entertainment. And so we just got to do what we got to do.
I actually respect Mike Keogh a great deal. You can't argue, from the time I graduated college and now, this state has not grown. It has been stagnant. It is generously describing it. I love the fact it's a big problem. He's got a big plan for it. Is it controversial? Of course it is. It would have to be. But I like the fact he stepped up and took it on.
Very controversial. And, you know, when he did his State of the State, I'm going to always remember that. There are things when people are talking that I'm listening now with conversation with people and what they say. And there's certain things that he said that hit home with me, especially when it came to education. And so that's why sometimes most of the time I support the issues around education, because I understand where he's coming from.
I think it's going to be, you got an uphill fight, though, to pass this education thing. I mean, it's not going to be easy, right?
Right. That's correct. I mean, education is the paramount priority of any state legislature, and it's important that we critically fund it. There's just things that need to be discussed, and that's what the legislature is doing now.
Going to be interesting. You talked about a different higher ed model. Now, up in Northeast Missouri, they're not going to like the end result of the current one, right? You're going to have to go to the state senate and really stick up for Truman, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but Truman's also going to have to change too. You can't lose half your population in 10 years and expect that everything's going to be fine. You've got to have a model that not only delivers quality education, but also does it at an affordable rate and that's still reaching people. You know, if you set yourself up and say, well, I have a 27 ACT and, you know, to come here, you just cut out 70% of the population, 80% of the population from being eligible to come to your school. So there's some give and take. I mean, you can't, yes, we're going to make sure that the higher education funding model, which is already in place, there's already a higher education funding model that's gone through the process, just waiting there with higher ed to be implemented. What was proposed in the House wasn't that higher education model. That was just based solely on FTE, and that's not going to, that wasn't going to fly through the Senate.
Ray, I kind of like the thought that right now I don't know why each school gets what they get. I think having some kind of formula is a good idea always, but you know, who's going to win, who's going to lose in that, right?
Yeah, what we're seeing is underfunding of public education and a shifting. It's basically a shell game. We're seeing shifting of priorities. Now an additional $10 million for the voucher program in the state of Missouri. And what essentially the voucher program is a discount for wealthy people to send their kids to school. I guarantee you that St. Louis Public Schools could have made a great use of that $10 million rather than a discount for the wealthy.
I think sometimes, though, people look at the school and say, well, the school is failing. Well, you're at places where the streets are in rough shape. You're at places where there's crime. There's not a lot of business activity. A lot of folks have moved. I think sometimes it's unfair to think the school can fix all those problems. And all of a sudden, the school is going to be the one successful thing in a community.
All right, but we have to make those investments. I know folks talk about the cost of education. I guarantee you the cost of education is nothing compared to the cost of ignorance. So we got to make these investments in public education.
You know, you did fund public education. It's a generous portion, right? I mean, I don't know that there's a big enough cut now that you'd be moaning and wailing. Next year is the time you have the real fight, right?
It'll be difficult, but Ed might know better, but I think we still increased education funding by $100+ million.
Yeah. Over $500 million over 2025. We're still $500 million above what we were in 2025. $500 million, right? $500 million. Yeah. This is the record. I mean, it says we're underfunding education. Not true, right? We have funded higher ed at the record level, but we've also funded K through 12 in the highest we've ever done it. It is froze this year. That's absolutely, we didn't increase. But what's impressive is in these tough times, didn't cut it, right? There was no cut. And if you preserve money in the budget this year, that means the cuts aren't as deep if we have to in the future year. We're making sure we put some on the bottom line so that we don't have to cut into education.
and it kind of cuts my. I'm going to jump in here because you know this is one of the topics, and one of the reasons why I came into legislation was for education. We're working on the task force, and so we have not even completed, and so it kind of does something to me when people are saying that we're not funding the formula. We're still working on the formula for the future.
You are on the Thalhuber Commission. It's going to come up with some I had Casey Wasser on the Daily Show this week. He's on there with you. When you get done with this, will you offer a suggested solution?
Of course. That's why we're there. There are many people that are on that task force and that absolutely care.
It kind of went quiet for a little bit, though, right?
It's not quiet. How often do you came in session? At least monthly. We've been trying. We're going to get back after this session is over. But we were meeting at the end of every month, just about. And so we broke down into groups to figure out certain things for taxes, if we should go by enrollment or
Who's on
attendance.
Don Thalhuber's committee? That'd be the fun one to be on.
But that's a touchy. This is a very touchy.
Thalhuber's on several of the committees. He's on 2 of the different subcommittees.
Thalhuber might be the smartest person I know.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where he comes out on this.
Yeah, well, Marlene and I both serve on that task force, and I think it's progressive.
With a minute left, who won the week?
Oh, Senator Stephen Weber. He had a great win for firefighters with the public labor bill getting attached in the Senate. He's done an amazing job.
Who won the week?
I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Bessie. Her end of speech was eloquent. She realized that although we have differences, we still have to do what we have to do, get the work done, and then move on and work as colleagues.
She does the homework. She knows that budget.
Senator Jamie Berger won the week with getting a tort reform bill out of the Senate with 30+ votes.
Love Jamie Berger.
I would say that the House Budget Chair, Dirk Deaton, won the week because I think this is the smoothest, and you could put Rusty Black in there as well. This is the smoothest budget process that we've seen since I've been doing it for 6 years.
Dirk Deaton has had a dominating performance as House Budget Chair and deserves a lot of accolades for that. I'm going to say the firefighters. Good week. Been a little bit of a rocky road to get there, but the legislature came in support of the firefighters this week. I thought it was a great work by Senator Weber, Senator Shore, and everyone involved. We hope you'll win the week next week to come here and watch our end of session this week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is brought to you by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, Evergene, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.
Thousands of Missouri jobs are at stake. Over $100 million of annual school construction. $500 million more for schools, $50 million for veteran services, just by enforcing the Missouri Voter Established Standard, replacing unregulated and untaxed illegal gaming machines with state-regulated and taxed video lottery terminals, delivering millions in new dollars to our schools for construction work statewide. It's the right thing to do for workers, students, and veterans.
In Missouri, we believe in hard work and property rights. Farmers understand their land best, and decisions about its use should remain personal. Solar projects provide steady income for farmers and communities. Changing rules after projects are approved creates uncertainty for landowners and businesses. We can protect rural values while welcoming responsible energy development. Common sense standards don't require shutting the door on opportunity. Respect farmers, respect property rights. Support policies that keep Missouri open for business.